like to call to order the Milan Area Schools Board of Education regular meeting for Wednesday, November 15th, 2023. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you for attending this evening, and thank you for those who will be watching the recording. All board members are present, except for one of our student board members, Avery Powell, is excused. We will start with communications and community engagement. This is a reminder that this meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public meeting. There are 2 times for public participation during the meeting as indicated in the agenda. When addressing the board, you'll be asked to state your name. The board determines the amount of time granted for individuals or groups to speak. Each person shall be allowed to speak for up to 3 minutes. Board members may question speakers but are not obligated to answer questions or make statements or commitments in response to issues raised by the public. In general, such items will be referred to the superintendent for advisement, investigation, study, and/or recommendation, or designated as future agenda items for board consideration. Are there any students who'd like to address the board at this time? Are there any public members who'd like to address the board? All right. Next up on the agenda, routine matters for approval. I need a motion to approve the bills reimbursement of expenses.
Moved by Farrow.
Support by Heike.
So moved and supported to approve the bills and reimbursement of expenses. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Sislo.
Yes, Mr. Farrow.
I just wanted the board to be aware that I had 2 specific questions about checks, and they were promptly responded to by Krista from accounting. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions or concerns? All right, it's been moved and supported to approve the bills and reimbursement of expenses. Ms. Heike.
Murray,
Yes.
Rosenleacher,
Yes.
Sislo,
Yes.
Farrow,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Heike, yes. Motion carries 6-0.
All right. Next up, I will ask, except for Maya, if the non-voting folks that are at the table to go into the audience. Maya is going to stay here to help us with the selecting the order of questions and candidates. First of all, I just want to thank the candidates that have applied, that are here to be interviewed this evening, to be interviewed in open session in front of everybody and in front of the same people that you're applying for the same vacancy, in order to serve the District of Milan, the school district. We greatly appreciate it. Obviously, it's different than how some of these folks have been elected. This is an appointment of a vacancy due to resignation. This person that's selected to this position will serve until the end of next year. There'll be an election next November that this position will be voted on by the electors of the Milan School District. So with that, I'll explain a little bit about the process as we go forward. The candidates have been made aware of the process, but just so that we're all on the same page, we do have 5 candidates that are going to be interviewing for the position. They submitted their written answers to the same questions that we've used for many years in regards to person's interest in being a school board member. The board members have reviewed that, and then our policy does state that we will interview those that are interested and who qualify. So that's what we're doing this evening. So in a few minutes, I volunteered Mrs. Hobbs. She's going to help us. We're going to choose the order of the board members that are going to ask the questions, so that there's no set order of how the board members are going to ask the questions. And then after that, we're going to choose the order of the candidates, and the candidates will sit in those 5 chairs so that we stay in order. So the first board member who's selected will ask their question, and we'll start with the candidate number one, and then they'll have 2 minutes to answer that question. The timer will be facing you, but it's a countdown timer. Once it gets down to the end, it'll make a beeping sound that indicates that you should finish the answer to the question. That candidate will sit down. The next candidate will come up and answer the question. Feel free to have the question reread again. That's not a problem at all. If you need the question to be restated, feel free to ask. We'll go through all 5 candidates with the first question, and then we'll move on to the second board member who selected. That board member will ask their question, and we'll start with candidate number 2, and then we'll work our way down until we've gone through 5 questions and 5 rounds for each candidate. So after that, there's a tally sheet that each board member will fill out and rank the candidates 1 through 5. Those will be handed to the secretary, and the secretary will read those rankings out loud, and we will tally those up. It's a requirement of the open meetings that is known to the public on how those rankings and votes come in. So that's why it needs to be done in open session, and so that everybody is aware what those rankings are. And then from there, we'll look at the total number. So it'll be the most favorable candidate will be 1, and the least favorable candidate will be 5. So whoever has the lowest scores will move forward on to the next round. We'll compare those tallies and move forward from there. So I know it sounds a little involved. We've done it a few times. We'll work our way into it and get into a groove. So are there any questions that the candidates have before we start? All right. So what I'll do is I'll have Miss Farrow is going to hold the basket. Miss Hobbs will be at the microphone to pull the name out, and then to read who's on the card. So we'll start with the board members first. And then could you just make sure that button's pressed so that yep, thank you.
Mr. Farrow.
So Mr. Farrow will ask the first question.
Mrs. Heike.
Heiko will ask the second question.
Ms. Murray.
Ms. Murray will ask the third question.
Ms. Gutierrez.
Ms. Gutierrez will ask the fourth question.
And Mrs. Rosenleacher.
And Ms. Rosenleacher will ask the fifth question. All right. So now we'll move on to the candidates. So the first candidate that's selected when she reads your name, if you could take that first seat next to Ms. Hobbs, I'd appreciate it. You can just say the last name and then no.
Hume.
So Miss Hume.
Spielman.
Dr. Spielman.
Tapke.
Mr. Tapke.
Elder.
Mr. Elder.
Pryor.
And Ms. Pryor. All right, I just let me get this finished filled out so that I got this going. All right. So the first question will be Mr. Farrow. Hold on a minute. Let me make sure I got this set.
You can come to the microphone.
All right. Yeah. And so the first question will be for Mrs. Hume. Good. Ms. Hume. Mr. Farrow. Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm going to ask you a budget finance question. My question is, you will play a crucial role in budgetary decisions as a school board member. How do you plan to prioritize and allocate resources to support academic achievement while considering the financial constraints that school districts sometimes face?
Well, I've been a teacher for 25 years, and I am well aware of what can be done with very little resources. And with any decision, especially on a board, it requires conversation and talking to one another and deciding where the funds are best needed. It's a process.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yep.
That's it.
Yep. Dr. Spielman.
Could you read the question again louder?
Yes. Good evening. You will play a crucial role in budgetary decisions as a school board member. How do you plan to prioritize and allocate resources to support academic achievement while considering the financial constraints that school districts sometimes face?
Okay. Well, a board member has long and short-term goals to associate with a clear vision for the school system, which is involved, the student achievement, and the positive connection to the community and other school districts. Using data as informational sources for various concerns, strategic planning, monetary utilization, and other decision-making issues will be required. I am also very strong on shared governance for any person involved in the priority of monetary issues.
Thank you. Mr. Tapke.
Do you need me to read the question again?
Are you ready?
I think I'm ready, yes. As far as prioritizing, it would be difficult without more information. And once we get that information, prioritizing is possible once we have all the information. But as far as my experience, in 2016, I was elected supervisor of London Township. And at that time, I inherited a carryover of only $1,200 for the whole township, which is basically the township was broke. And we had expenditures coming up that we didn't have money to pay for. And long story short, I was forced to use all resources available to me to get the township out of debt. The township was actually in debt, and it had a deficit over the last at least 10 years, the prior 10 years to me being elected. From 2016 through 2020, I had a balanced budget every single year. It was the first time that had happened in over a decade in our township. And when I left that position in 2020, at that time there was a carryover of over $600,000. And as of last year, they had about a $1.2 million carryover. So from $1,200 to $1.2 million as far as carryover. And we had improvements on the roads and improvements on our fire departments all while that happened. So I can squeeze a dime really well. I have to have more information to answer your question more specifically though, but I'm up for the job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tapke. Mr. Elder. Oh, sorry. No, that's you can just pull that there. Pull the mic down. There you go.
It would have to be hard to answer this question without knowing what the budget is. but conversating and using teamwork with the fellow board members and making sure our priority is, number one, our teachers, and number two is our students. So we'd have to base our factors off not taking away from either one of them.
Thank you, Mr. Elder. Ms. Pryor.
So initially, I would start out after after setting aside the funds for programs that are federally and state required, look at what is left over within the budget that we have been able to maintain. I would follow the school strategic plan about the priorities that we are focusing on to help our students succeed, primarily looking at teacher success and training to be able to manage more behaviors in classrooms to help increase the overall success of the teachers in classrooms. And I would look at programs that increase student success, help with after-school tutoring type programs to help our students succeed. Anything after that, I would prioritize programs for safety within our schools, training for teachers, training for students, working with outside organizations to help make our schools a safer place to learn. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pryor. All right, so then the second question will be asked by Ms. Heike, and we'll start with Dr. Spielman.
Good evening, Dr. Spielman. My question is, have you read the district's strategic plan? And if you had, what priority within the plan do you feel should be most focused on?
No, I've not read the plan. However, I'm very familiar with most of the things that teachers and school systems are confronting, and that would be budget, retention, teachers, bus drivers, paraprofessionals, kitchen aid, and of course, that budget's in there to provide that. So I do not know your strategic plan, but looking over what the state on general needs, that's what the majority needs.
Thank you, Dr. Spielman. Mr. Tapke.
Quite honestly, I have not read the strategic plan. Most important things I'm sure the school district is facing is number one, budget. There's with a good budget and the funds available, the possibilities are endless as far as hiring and retaining teachers, parapros. Everything hinges on how much money you have to offer these to get and to retain good people. So in my opinion, the budget, basically everything starts at the budget as far as the quality of the education that we can give the kids, making sure that they have the tools and as was mentioned earlier, transportation. I know that's a huge expense. So we have to get our budget in order before we can decide where the money is going to be spent. You have to know how much money you have first. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tapke. Mr. Elder. Go ahead.
I have read the strategic plan. I think we went through it on the big red chat. I believe culture, raising two different daughters of two different cultures, it's an eye opener on, that there are different people in this world, and everybody has to get along, and everybody has to respect each other's cultures. So I'd have to say culture.
Thank you, Mr. Elder. Ms. Pryor.
So it's been a minute since I have read it. This is the last time I was here, but the piece that sticks out to me is inclusivity in a welcoming environment. I remember that being part of it. As we work to grow well-rounded citizens, I believe Milan can offer If they focus on that, they can offer a good sense of cooperation, working with others, learning about other individuals, and about keeping our environment a safe, welcoming place for all. So we feel open, so we don't have to focus on that as part of our education, and we can move on from feeling uncomfortable and not welcome in the classroom to be comfortable when we're learning. So I believe that environment and culture, along with safety, coming back on the other side is an important part of where the school system should be headed.
Thank you, Ms. Pryor. Ms. Hume.
Okay. On your website, there's the objectives. That's the strategic plan, right? All those things that you've listed out that you want to achieve, sort of like a school improvement plan. That's your school improvement. Okay. Yeah, I did look over that, and it seemed to be fairly in line with, you know, what I've been involved with school improvement plans, culture, resources, testing. And honestly, I think you guys asked what the question was, what was most important? Well, I believe that culture and environment is very important. I think we need to be accepting of anybody that is here, okay? We also need to teach all the children that come to us. So for me, the most important thing is making sure the children are met where they're at in the classrooms, that they're getting the attention that they need, they're getting the support and the care. I think it's time to get back to basics. Make sure our children can read by the time they're in the 3rd grade. And then I did notice you guys have quite a few activities for the adults. The same for the kids. You know, they're together, they get along. That's how you build community, is you plan programming for the whole community, for the parents and the children and the teachers, for them to interact and get to know one another. But as a school, number one is their education. And our kids have to learn how to read, write, add, and subtract.
Thank you, Ms. Hume. All right, the 3rd question will be asked by Ms. Murray, and we'll start with Mr. Tapey.
Good evening, Mr. Tapey. This question is about understanding the role of a board member. Can you articulate your understanding of the role and responsibilities of a school board member, particularly in terms of governance, policy development, and the balance between supporting administrative decisions and representing the interests of the community?
Yes, it's similar to being on a board of trustees in a township, like I mentioned. The duties of the board member, the everyday duties have to do with not only finance, but also decision making, discipline decisions, and policy making. And you have to have someone that is experienced in all of these things before they would be qualified as a board member, in my opinion. Other than that, I think that you have to look at, like I said, you have to look at all of the aspects of being a board member. I mean, what are the qualifications? Being experienced in finance, being experienced in running meetings and procedures of running meetings, Open Meetings Act policies, things like that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tapey. Mr. Elder.
Can you repeat your question, please?
Absolutely. Can you articulate your understanding of the role and responsibilities of a school board member, particularly in terms of governance, policy development, and the balance between supporting administrative decisions and representing the interests of the community?
I think I'd have to rewind to this past summer with the change of the schedule at the high school. where it was, I would listen to the staff, teachers came up and they talked, and I would communicate that with the board, and if it was the best interest for the children, I would make that decision on the children and the staff. And you're going to take negative feedback from anybody. Nobody's ever going to be happy. So you just got to hold your head up high and make the right decision.
Thank you, Mr. Elder. Ms. Pryor.
I think the role of a board member is to look at the big picture of how it benefits the community as a whole. Of course, taking the students into account, but for the future of the people who will be coming to Milan schools as well. To listen to the community, listen to staff, listen to citizens, and try to make as an informed a decision as possible. Not everybody will always support the decision that you make, but I believe if you put enough research and intent into trying to make that decision to benefit the most people, then you can have integrity in the decisions that you make. I think as far as taking all that into account, what you've listened and learned, you can use that to create policy that benefits the staff and students, and that remembering that the policy that you make now will affect generations to come. And so you have to try to take into account the kind of changes that our world is going through, the kind of changes that can happen within a school system, being aware of different aspects at the state and government level as far as education and what they are trying to change or get the schools to participate in. So being aware of things to come when making decisions, I believe, is also important. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pryor. Ms. Hume.
Could you please repeat the question?
Excuse me, sorry. Can you articulate your understanding? I'm so sorry.
You're fine.
Still recovering. I'm going to start over. Can you articulate your understanding of the role and responsibilities of a school board member, particularly in terms of governance, policy development, and the balance between supporting administrative decisions and representing the interests of the community?
Well, I think it's already been said that dialogue is number one. You have to communicate, you have to listen to both sides of the issue. I do believe, though, that if there are issues that the board might see differently than the community, it's the board's job to make the decision when it relates to the school. I mean, that's what you're here for. So even if I did not agree with your position, I would support it, because that's what we need to do. We need to be able to give and take and look at the other sides. And I'm assuming that the board is run like most any other meeting, with committees and teams and I see how you started tonight, how you get things going. It's honestly, I don't really know. I've never been on a board before. That's just my assumption that it's pretty much you guys are a team and you're working together to solve the problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hume. Dr. Spewin.
Read it one more time, a little louder.
Try not to cough through it this time. Here we go. All right. Can you articulate your understanding of the role and responsibilities of a school board member, particularly in terms of governance, policy development, and the balance between supporting administrative decisions and representing the interests of the community?
Okay. I have been a director of different types of programs for over 20 years, so I've been involved in each and every one of those. From my perspective, I'm going to issue again shared governance, and I don't mean just shared governance amongst the administrators, the board, and the teachers, but it includes students and community members. What I need to do is understand the issue very clearly, what it's going to impact or who it's going to impact, the financial cost, if it's included, and have complete discussion amongst parties. But I think there's some big board discussions that's coming down the pipeline. From what I see, there's going to be an issue where teachers get more input on evaluations. There's a lot of money coming from the government, 25%. We've got to figure out where that's going to go. We also have a variety of other things coming down the pipeline that I've already looked at. Let me pull it, make sure I don't lie to you. Okay, so what they're also doing for the school system in Michigan is rated as a middle-class school, low on the schedule or the scale. They're going to remove A through F scaling to evaluate schools. I think that we strive to get the highest level. The reading requirement for 3rd grade is being dropped because the students aren't being held back for the readiness to read law any longer. So I think there's a lot of things coming down the pipeline in 2024 that has to be thought of before they come.
Thank you, Dr. Spielman. All right, our 4th question will be asked by Ms. Gutierrez. And we'll start with Mr. Elder. Yep.
Good evening. Schools across the country are dealing with staffing shortages across many positions. What strategies and ideas do you have to recruit and retain high-quality staff, particularly teachers and support staff?
Again, we got to respect our staff and utilize our staff and listen to our staff and, support our staff. It's because if they don't have us working with them, then they're going to be unhappy and they're going to go elsewhere. And to recruit, I don't know what the school's policy is on recruiting, but, I guess I really can't answer. I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Elder. Ms. Pryor.
I believe a strategy to help combat some of the staffing shortages is to try to solidify our relationships with the universities and colleges around the state. I know we do have some of that, but to intentionally send people there to not just talk about what our school has to offer, the positions and the financial aspects of it, but also of the town, what the town has to offer, the type of housing, so they know what type of housing they can get when they come here, what type of programs they have for their schools, give them packets and information on the daycare. So when they come to look at our school, they're ready to move their family. This is where they're going to work. This is where they're going to live. This is where their kids are going to go to school. I believe enticing somebody for the whole area is a way to get people to come to our school. I also believe in trying to get some of the students involved in that. Make little make them part of the packet. Like, come teach with us. Milan, come work with us. Milan is great. And put little things they love about their school. So I believe that recruiting people and retaining people is about community. It's the same reason you stay with a job. You like the people you work with. You like the place you work for. You feel heard and understood. So I believe engaging that whole community aspect of recruiting teachers and staff is the way to keep them here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pryor. Ms. Hume.
Okay, and the gist of the question again is how to retain teachers?
Sure. What strategies and ideas do you have to recruit and retain high-quality staff, particularly teachers and support staff?
Whoa, okay. Well, honestly, I believe it starts within the school building. The teachers need to learn to work together. And I have taught in places where I've had, dream teams. And again, when the teachers are like trying to climb to the top. And when one person is trying to outdo somebody else, you're not working as a team. So you need to cultivate a teamwork, a really, truly honest teamwork attitude in the schools. Administration has a big part of this. I am not familiar with like the requirements for teachers in this district, but the amount of paperwork that teachers are required to do now is honestly so ridiculous. Ridiculous. I used to do 20-page lesson plans typed. There are administration likes to keep reinventing the wheel and keep changing things and having different names. Well, a rose by any other name is still a rose. You know, you're doing the same thing. You tweak it and you continue doing what works, and what doesn't work, then you try something different. This recreation of everything, I think, is teachers are tired. Teachers are exhausted. And, you know, and until what their responsibilities are change and their attitudes in the within the building change, you're going to keep having this problem.
Thank you, Ms. Hume. Dr. Spielman.
Let me just talk about my success as a director. It goes again, shared governance. What you need to do is have people make sure that they feel important, their ideas are important, their feedback is important, and that what you want to do to recruit good teachers is to make it a good school. The ratings make a difference, the salary makes a difference, and the opportunities once they get here. So you got to provide teachers the ability to train, attend conferences so they can have shared information amongst teachers. I believe in teachers working with other teachers in interdisciplinary functions. I think it's just the environment on both sides. They need to feel like they're welcome, that they're taken seriously. Now, with the new thing coming through, teachers get an input on their schedule. And what I heard and read was that with that new schedule, they're going to fear that the highest ranking or seniority teacher will take first choice. And it doesn't have to be that way. I never ran my program that way. What you do is you let them talk about it or put it rotational. You make sure, again, they're heard. I had to do it every semester. The students have to portray something, you know, when they come in. And of course, what you pay them makes a big difference.
Thank you, Dr. Spielman. Mr. Tapke.
I've learned something. Going last is probably the most difficult because all of them had good answers, but how do I come up with something new? So I'll try. I've been self-employed my whole life, and I've had employees over much of that time. It's difficult keeping, finding good employees and retaining them is difficult. However, it boils down to a couple key things. Respect your employees. Make sure that you talk to them, communicate with them to find out what their needs are. If teachers are unhappy, they're going to leave. Make sure you have happy teachers. What makes the teachers happy? Talk to them. I'm sure it's more than just money. It has to be work environment. It has to be safety. These other candidates all had great answers, but I don't think I ever heard safety mentioned once. In a school, I think that's pretty high priority. Make sure that they feel that they're safe and their students are safe. So it's up to us to ensure that that environment exists. If you're going to keep teachers, and I'm not talking just teachers, I think the question also included support personnel. So we're talking parapros and all the other people that go along with that. And I think we need to include transportation as well, because finding good bus drivers is tough as well. That's an under-respected job, I think. They're not put on the pedestal that I think they should be, because they deal with a lot of stuff. So respecting your employees, I think, is top.
it should be top on the list. Once you have that, communication is next. Talk with your teachers, see what they need, see what they want, and you'll keep them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tapke. All right, the fifth question will be asked by Ms. Rosenleacher, and we'll start with Ms. Pryor.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is on education policy perspective. Considering factors such as socioeconomic background, race, gender, sexual orientation, and special needs, how do you envision addressing the educational needs of a diverse student population, ensuring equitable access to quality education and resources for all students?
Well, as a person who works in a field where those things are important to assess when I'm assessing families, I believe that our school has to have the understanding of how we learn that about our students, and that teachers and staff bus drivers, parents even learn how to identify students that may be struggling due to other issues outside of their ability to learn. Did they have breakfast that morning? Did they maybe witness something in their home that evening, the night before? Did they not get a good night's sleep? Are they sleeping in a car? I think that in order to have good access to education, that the families need to feel comfortable bringing those issues to our attention so we can provide the resources. We have good counselors here, resources in the community to help alleviate some of those needs so we can work with the students as a whole. I think that inclusivity, that the school is making good strides and is on its way to identifying those issues that can cause kids to not feel part of the school community. Some learning, acceptance, understanding with other staff and parents. I think just trying to educate ourselves about what others can be going through, and empathy can help us forge relationships that build paths for kids to be able to access the services they need outside of school so they can have a good result in school. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pryor. Ms. Hume.
And would you please read it again?
Yes. Considering factors such as socioeconomic background, race, gender, sexual orientation, and special needs, how do you envision addressing the educational needs of a diverse student population, ensuring equitable access to a quality education and resources for all students?
Okay. As was just mentioned about, well, let me just say this. As a teacher, I taught children who were homeless, sleeping out of their cars. I worked in Southwest Detroit for 25 years. So I've seen a lot. It does not matter what a child's environment is as to how they perform educationally. From my observation, all children need an opportunity to be taught where they are at. The kids with special needs, you make special arrangements for them. Children who are sleeping out of their car, well, staff usually know who those people are, and we address that. The counselor comes in. We had a huge language barrier, and you teach the parents how to use Google Translate so that you can communicate with them. I think, yes, teachers, most importantly, are the people who are working with these children and who are talking to the parents. And you create as many opportunities for that. You have you give teachers time to be with the parents in the school during the, report cards and reporting and all of that. And I know that there's other issues, but in my mind, our goal is to help each child go as far as they can with their education, as far as they want to, as far as they will. So you just have to look at the individuals and see where they're at.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ms. Hume. Dr. Spuman.
Or you read it one more time and make it loud. Make sure I hear it.
Absolutely. Considering factors such as socioeconomic background, race, gender, sexual orientation, and special needs, how do you envision addressing the educational needs of a diverse student population, ensuring equitable access to quality education and resources for all students?
All students are here for one primary reason, and that's education. Now, using those various issues that you talked about should not be considered as a priority or how they're treated. I can talk from experience. I was from a blue-collar family. They all have to feel like they're included in whatever you do. You might have to change your teaching methods. I was a little surprised when I came in here and sat in on a teacher conference. When I asked if they did visual learning, they said no. I think understanding how students learn beyond reading and writing, and what they understand and how they understand in the environment they're in, I think that's a major concept, is what it's like. I know I have a nephew that's just been diagnosed ADHD. He has to have more space. Yesterday they changed his schedule and he had an outbreak. Anyways, let me talk about one instance. And all of my students knew that they could come to me for any issues that were involved. And I don't know how you do it in the school system, but I had a particular male employee. He was talking about anime, and he was using sexual terms that some young ladies didn't like it. And so they told me about it. I called him in and I said, there's some young ladies that don't like the way you explain anime. So I sat down and showed him how to change his curriculum and his teaching methods on how it is all more inclusive. Then I asked the students, is it better? And they said yes. So they got to be able to voice their opinion and see improvement.
Thank you.
Mr. Tapke.
This is a good question. I think in order to answer, I'm going to give a little background. Those of you who don't know, I have an adult daughter who is autistic. She's non-functional. I also have a nephew who is a functional autistic as well as several relatives who have been diagnosed with ADHD of various degrees. As some of you know, I'm also an adult volunteer with the United States Navy Sea Cadets, and which is an organization it's supported by the U.S. Navy, but it's designed for kids between the ages of 10 and 18 years of age. And we take these kids that have never felt pride. They've never, they lack self-esteem, and we turn them around. And I think that that's true. I see that a lot in schools. The kids don't have the structure. A lot of times with in today's society, with various broken families, it's difficult, and things are busy. People are always running around trying to get caught up, and kids don't have that structure of being involved in something that they can be proud of. And when they join the Sea Cadets, I noticed that they get that pride. They go from standing like this and feeling like this to standing up tall and being proud of themselves. I'm getting choked up just thinking about this. But I see these kids, and it changes their life. We need to bring, I'm not saying, this isn't a commercial for the Sea Cadets, but we need to bring some of those ideas into the schools. Make these kids, give them the tools so that they have that self-esteem, so that they become proud of themselves, and everything else is going to fall into place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tate. Mr. Elder.
In my opinion, I don't think any of that should reflect on what kind of education any child gets. You know, kids are there to learn. We're there to teach them, and I don't think they should be categorized in any of that. I think they should all be treated equal, and as they're one of us. So I honestly don't think that none of that should even take a priority in the way the kids are being educated. I think that they should be all treated as one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Elder. All right, let's give our candidates a round of applause. Again, thank you. You guys can get out of the corner, find your seat back in the audience. Again, thank you very much for participating in this. Each of the board members has a tally sheet in front of them for round one. And right now they're listed in alphabetical order, the candidates are. And so what I'll ask each board member to do is to rank the candidates from 1 to 5, 1 being the highest and 5 being the lowest. And then we'll hand those in to Ms. Heike. You can hand it down. All right, I think I have everybody's tally sheet. All right, so what Ms. Heike will do is she'll read the board member name and then she'll read the ranking in alphabetical order.
Don't I also? You're okay.
Yeah, you'll tell us who the board
yes,
member
yes,
is.
Yes,
Yep,
that's what I thought you said.
Yep.
Okay. This is the ballot of Carrie Gutierrez.
Okay.
George Elder 4, Sarah Hume 5, Cassie Pryor 1, Pamela Spielman 3, Gary Tepke 2.
Okay.
This is the ballot of Betty Rosen-Leacher.
Yep.
Elder 4, Hume 3, Pryor 1, Spielman 5, Tepke 2.
Okay.
This is the ballot of Andrew Sislo.
Yep.
Elder 5.
Yes.
Okay. Hume 4,
Yes.
Pryor 1.
Yep.
Spielman 3, Tepke 2.
Okay.
This is my ballot, Michelle Heike. Elder 5.
Yep.
Hume 4.
Yep.
Pryor 1.
Yep.
Spielman 3.
Yep.
Tepke 2.
Okay.
This is Tom Farrow's ballot.
Yep.
Elder 5.
Yep.
Hume 3.
Yep.
Pryor 1.
Yep.
Spielman 2.
Yep.
Tepke 4.
Yep.
And this is Sarah Murray's ballot.
Yep.
Elder 5.
Yep.
Hume 2.
Yep.
Pryor 1.
Yep.
Spielman 4.
Yep.
Tepke 3.
Okay, I'm just going to check my math here. All right, so with those rankings, Mr. Elder has 28. Miss Hume has 21. Miss Pryor has 6. Dr. Spielman has 20. And Mr. Tapke has 15. So the top 2 of those would be Miss Pryor with 6, Mr. Tapke with 15, Dr. Spielman has 20, Miss Hume has 21, and Mr. Elder has 28. So is it a pleasure to go forward with 3 candidates or 2 candidates?
I'm comfortable with going forward with 2 candidates based on the numbers.
Okay. So I'm going to hand out the second round ballot. And what you'll do is you'll put Cassie Pryor in the first slot, and then you'll put Gary Tapke in the second slot, and then the lowest will be 1. The highest will be 1, and the lowest will be 2. Okay, I'm ready.
This is Betty Rosen-Leacher's ballot. Pryor 1, Tapke 2.
Okay.
This is Tom Farrow's ballot.
Yep.
Pryor 1, Tapke 2.
Okay.
This is Sarah Murray's ballot.
Yep.
Pryor 1.
Yep.
Tapke 2.
Yep.
This is Andrew Sislow's ballot.
Yep.
Pryor 1.
Yep.
Tapke 2.
Okay.
This is Carrie Gutierrez's ballot.
Yep.
Pryor 2.
Okay.
Tapke 1.
Okay.
This is my ballot, Michelle Heike.
Yep.
Pryor 1, Tapke 2.
All right, let me check this real quick. All right, so with that, Miss Pryor comes out with 7, and Mr. Tapke comes with 11. So with that, I would entertain a motion to appoint Miss Cassie Pryor to serve as a member of the Board of Education of Milan Area Schools for the unexpired term of Kirsten Freight, resign ending on December 31st, 2024, as authorized by law.
Moved by Farrow.
Support by Murray.
It's been moved and supported to appoint Cassie Pryor to serve as a member of the Board of Education of Milan Area Schools for the unexpired term of Kirsten Freight, ending on December 31st, 2024, as authorized by law. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Sislo.
Yes, Mr.
I just
Farrell.
want to thank all the candidates for coming tonight. I know this is probably not a pleasant experience, but it's worthwhile. And I think all of you would have brought something to our board, and I appreciate all of you coming out. Thank you.
I'll echo Mr. Farrow. You know, I never had to go through that. I had to run, and I thought that was brutal, but I know this is equally brutal. And so I just appreciate all of you for putting yourself out there and for giving thoughtful answers, not only to your online applications, but to the questions here tonight. And I agree with Tom. Each of you would have brought something different and unique to the board, and so I appreciate that, and I think that's what makes our board great. And I would encourage you, all of you, this is not the only opportunity to give to the district. There are other, committees and things that are out there. We have a communications committee now. We have a sexual health committee. All of those committees need talented people who care about the district and this community. So I encourage all of you to find those other opportunities because I think you all have something to bring. So thank you.
I will echo that as well. Again, thank you for going through this process with us. I will let you know, for those that that didn't get selected, obviously there is an election next year. I would encourage you to go out to the Washtenaw County Board of Elections and figure out what it takes to run. They've got everything laid out there on how to collect signatures and or pay a fee to apply to run in the election next year. So as everyone stated, everybody would bring value to the board, and the electors will choose those two individuals next November for this board.
Including this spot.
Correct. This
Yes,
spot. Yeah.
this
This.
spot will be
Yeah.
open
This
for-
person. This spot will be open, as well as Miss Rosen or Miss Gutierrez. I apologize, Miss Gutierrez. So those are the two spots that will be open next year. Thank you, Ms. Hobbs, for assisting this evening, and Ms. Farrow with the selection. We try to make it as transparent as possible in the spirit of the Open Meetings Act. So again, let's give our candidates a round of applause. Ms. Pryor, Ms. Four will be in touch with you in order to give the oath of office as required by law. Yeah, yeah. Oh, I okay. It's just part of the discussion. Good point. Thank you. So it's been moved and supported to appoint Cassie Pryor to serve as a member of the Board of Education of Milan Area Schools for the unexpired term of Kirsten Freight, ending on December 31st, 2024, as authorized by law. Ms. Heiko.
Rosenleacher,
Yes.
Sislo,
Yes.
Farrow,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Heike, yes. Murray, yes. Motion carries 6-0.
So now that it's official, Ms. Four will be in touch with you to administer the oath of office as required by law. There will be a ceremonial swearing at the next board meeting, and you'll have a seat at the board table at the next meeting. So we'll be in contact in regards to that. All right. You folks are welcome to stay for the rest of the business if you want to, and you're welcome to leave. So we'll give you that opportunity.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Spielman.
I didn't get to meet you, but thank you. I love you.
Thank you very much.
Can I get it after the meeting? Yeah. I'll get it. Yep.
Nice try.
Yep.
Another committee?
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Next up in the area of communications and community engagement, we will return to public comment. And a reminder, this meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business. It's not to be considered a public meeting. There are 2 times for public participation during the meeting as indicated in the agenda. When addressing the board, you'll be asked to state your name. The board determines the amount of time granted to individuals or groups to speak. Each person shall be allowed to speak for up to 3 minutes. Board members may question speakers but are not obligated to answer questions or make statements or commitments in response to issues raised by the public. In general, such items would be referred to the superintendent for advisement, investigation, study, and/or recommendation, or designated as future agenda items for board consideration. Are there any students who'd like to address the board? Oops, hold on a minute. Are there any public members who'd like to address the board? All right. Next up is student board representative comments. Ms. Farrell.
I would like to give a congratulations to the girls varsity volleyball team for being the first Milan volleyball team to win regionals, and they're now advancing to states. Good luck to the team as they compete in the state semifinal against West Catholic High School in Battle Creek at 4:30 p.m. tomorrow. The Milan High School production of Alice in Wonderland takes place November 16th, 17th, and 18th at 7 p.m. and November 18th at 1 p.m. The play's preview took place today at the high school, and the show already looks amazing. And good luck to the girls who are swimming in the state meet at Oakland University this weekend. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Farrell. Next up are assistant superintendent comments. Mr. McMahon.
Evening. I do have a few. My apologies for missing the last meeting, but I have some things to share. One is I want to provide you an update on the most recent free, reduced, and at-risk numbers for the district. We calculate this as a part of Count A. It's a process. We have to maintain an at-risk list for grant funding, so it's a part of that. The numbers are fairly consistent with last year. We actually anticipated a potential dip in the free reduced numbers for lunch only because the application process changed a bit now that lunch is just provided for everybody, but we didn't see that, so that was good. Or there wasn't a dip, and it's reporting lower than it should, but we'll know more later. I do update that in the winter every year. It's a requirement that we keep that list updated, but I just want to share that with you. I will provide you with a grant update. I've submitted the assessment reimbursement grant, which is a grant that covers NWA for our students in K-8, so that's been done. There are a number of other grants we are working on, but I just want to provide you the updates of what's the ones when they have an update, I'll say. There's a new grant called Section 23G. It's Michigan Kids Back on Track. You may have heard some about it. We have completed step 2 of the process. It's a different type of application. It is a competitive grant, but it's also a block grant. So we have to, first step was letting them know that we're interested in it. The second step is submitting a plan of what we'd like to do with the funds based on an estimated allocation. And then when that plan is approved, which ours was, then they actually allocate the funds, so then we can refine our budget and grant application. So we're on step 2. That's been approved. We're just waiting to see how much money we actually get for this grant. My ballpark estimates was like 150,000, but I'm optimistic that it could be upwards of 250,000. So we just don't know yet, but we have plans. We're going to be providing interventionists with that money, just depending on how much we get. I will provide updates as we go with that. I would like to share with you that we recently completed a Title III audit with the Michigan Department of Education. Interestingly enough, this audit began in 2018-19, before the pandemic. And MDE is typically slow to process an audit, and then the pandemic hit, and that really halted things. It's my understanding now they're consulting with outside agencies, so they're really stepping up their not attack, I shouldn't say that word, their conduct of the audits. And so in this case, it was an interesting experience, because in 18-19 is when the district shifted to start putting some professional development money and some Section 41 money towards getting some of our teachers certified in EL, and we were able to certify 2 teachers at that time. And so it was interesting to read the plans, because there's a lot of things we said we hope to do with this money and with these folks, and now we're actually doing it. And in fact, we have an EL interventionist, Mrs. Saylor, and she helped do the audit. So I can now help supervise her in conducting the audit. So she met with MDE and went through the audit, and we passed. It was great. They were really impressed with all the work we've done, the plans we had. So it was kind of neat. I mean, you should it's weird to call audits neat, but this one was like we laid out a bunch of plans because we're really trying to build an EL program at that time, and now we have one. We have a functioning program and it's growing, so it's kind of cool to show off to MDE a little bit of what we've done with that money. So Mrs. Saylor did great work there, and I appreciate all that she did for this audit. I met with MDE. I just ran into them at a conference intentionally, but and so I haven't received a final report, but I've received confirmation that it's been approved. I would like to share that the High School Interact Club, which I'm closely involved with, completed an event last Tuesday called Elect to Erase Polio. That was co-sponsored by the Milan Rotary Club and also in partnership with Little Caesars, Hungry Howie's, and JD's Pizza and Grinders. It was a portion of proceeds type event, and with their help, the Interact Club, the Milan Rotary Club, advertising, we were able to send $600 to the International Polio Fund, which is great. I'm really looking forward to their increased involvement with the Milan Rotary Club. I will also add that the Interact Club sent 2 representatives to the District 6380, which is an international district, Southeast Michigan, some of Canada. They had an Interact Day at Brighton High School last Saturday. We sent 2 representatives, Madison Ross and Allison Kingman, went and represented the high schools. So it was great to have 2 folks there. It was 6 total high schools and upwards of 40, 50 students. So we were part of that. I got a call today from the district governor thanking us for being there. I want to give you a little quick recap on the district PD day we had last November 1st. It was a productive day, of course, across the buildings, and amongst a myriad of topics, I'll just kind of give you a focus of each building. Paddock spent some time on some writing instruction. The Writing Revolution TRW is called. It's kind of, Mrs. Terrace, she might scold me if I don't get it right, but it's kind of the science of writing. We were focused on the science of reading last year and bringing that along. It's more the science of writing, and then sort of taking our units of writing curriculum and implementing new, updating it essentially. And so they went through a training with that. Mrs. Terrace spent a lot of time this summer training herself, and now she's sharing with the teachers. Simon spent a lot of time on math instruction and intervention strategies. We had 2 teachers share some updates from some trainings they went to last year, and also thinking classroom routines, which was also a focus of the day at the middle school. Their thinking strategies come through a book, essentially a program called Making Thinking Visible. It's strategies to engage learners beyond just information transfer. And the middle school also spent some time on competency-based education and standards-based grading. It's been a focus of theirs for a while. And the high school spent a portion of their time focusing on disciplinary literacy training, so increasing the literacy instruction across all content areas, not just in English, where it's traditionally done. The final update I want to give you is on our internal reviews. We just today completed our 4th internal review. For those of you that aren't aware, the internal reviews is it's a program modeled after Advanced Ed, which we used to have a banner in here, the district accreditation process. We scaled it down and created a building accreditation process by which the district brings in a team. Mr. Gearborn and I and the representatives from 3 buildings attend another building, and the building's leadership team shares a presentation showing us their academic and perception data from staff, students, and teachers and parents, and then also their goals and plans for the year, some of the things they've struggled with, some of the things they plan to attack. And then we also get to interview a panel of students and then get into classrooms and make some observations, and then we share the feedback with the buildings. It's always a very positive experience. It is a critical piece of the cyclical improvement process that we're required to do. I will stand up and share with anybody in the state of Michigan. I think we do that better than anybody. We embrace the cyclical review process. I think the internal reviews is a really great way to do that, and a lot of districts don't do it. They have, well, I don't want to brag too much, but it's a good process, and we do it. It also directly informs what's known as the comprehensive needs assessment, which is a requirement of all districts, and I would bet a vast majority of districts do not actually have comprehensive needs assessments, even though we're required to. And we do. We produce them based on that information. I'm going to produce those documents, make them more public facing. I'll share them with you when it's going to take some time. We'll have those for you. But also in a neat twist this year, the 23G application requires most general applications, a consolidated app, where we spend some state and federal funds, is supposed to be tied to your district improvement process. And most districts can argue that it is loosely tied because you're just trying to improve student performance. But the 23G application, you have to actually submit it in the MyKIP system, which is a state system. It was a pain. It was a lot of work. A lot of districts got together to try and figure out how to do this. But it was also, the nuance that they asked us to do was the impetus we needed to make that connection, because we weren't able to really make a clear connection to the MyKIP project. It's new. And we've been wanting to for a couple of years, and we had this idea, and now it happened. So we have a direct correlation between stakeholder input, the work our buildings do, the plans we put in place, grant funding, and my kit. And then the CNA document, which is, it's really tremendous. It's a lot of work that our teachers put into this, and I'm really proud of the outcomes. Like, I think this stands above any other district I know that do this work. So I want to thank all the teachers for the work they put into making the internal reviews happen, and then thank those teachers that were able to join me on the visits, because it's a ton of time, a ton of work. So we're happy that that's completed, and we're thrilled with the results. I also want to add, clearly the themes in all 4 buildings this year, where we have a student-centered approach, no question, and the sense of community really stood out. And if you recall last year, we had a discussion at the table. The outcome of this was the attention that we paid to individuals, both students and teachers, and a theme kind of emerged from that. And this year, a clear theme is coming out, the community. It's not just about focusing on the kids in our building. It's about making them better citizens, the SEL side of things, but also connecting to the other buildings. And that was cool to hear buildings talk about data from other buildings and how it connects. So we're really happy.
Awesome. It's great to hear your excitement
It
as well.
is.
That's
I
that's a
usually don't
lot.
say that much.
I mean, that's what happens when you miss a meeting. It's like, so thank you so much for your work, and it's exciting to hear the results of those internal reviews. Mr. Gearbaum.
Thank you. Most of mine are going to be a reiteration of the student comments and Mr. McMahon's comments, but do want to remind everybody that our high school production is going on this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We look forward to being able to attend Alice in Wonderland Thursday at 7, Friday at 7, Saturday at 1 and 7. So please make sure to come out and see that show. As was stated, our volleyball team is the Division II Region 13 champ. They went on to the quarterfinals and beat Dearborn Divine Child, I will say, in 3 straight sets, which was incredibly impressive. Milan plays Grand Rapids West Catholic in the state semifinal at the Kellogg Arena in Battle Creek at 4:30 p.m. tomorrow. We are putting together a fan bus for the students, and we started with the seniors and offered it and worked our way down. So we will have a bus going, and we are covering a charter bus for the team as well. So it's a long drive, and riding on a school bus for that long is not the most comfortable. So we'll be providing a charter bus for the team. The FCI graduation ceremony that was held a week or two ago was a wonderful occasion. The speaker did a tremendous job. He was actually the prosecutor out of Washtenaw County, and you think was it?
At least that.
Yep. You would think that would be really weird to have the prosecutor come and speak at a graduation for incarcerated gentlemen, but I will tell you, he did a phenomenal job of tying it back, and really just talked about how, as a prosecutor, he wants to do more to support people after they've made a mistake and help them improve themselves. And so it was just a really impressive speech. We had more correctional staff members there than ever before. I think a lot of that is due to our new FCI educational director. Remember, that's not our position. Every FCI has a educational director that oversees the GED program and all of the other programs. I got to meet the new warden. The new warden is phenomenal and totally supports this program, and is actually the warden and the FCI education director are doing their best to make sure that our program is actually highlighted in the next national newsletter that goes out on FCIs. So that would be great that our high school program would actually be in a national publication that goes out to all of the different FCIs across the country. As was stated as well, the girls' state swimming meet is this weekend. We are excited for all of the swimmers who will be competing. And for those that don't know, different sports have different types of state meets. And, the volleyball team goes as a team and competes as a team. The swimming team does that as well, but there's also more individual feel to some of the competitions, and then there's a total points at the end. So we are proud of all of the individuals that made the cuts to go to state. We wish them to, one, swim their best time, because that's a goal of anyone going to state, is to get your personal best. And then we hope that those personal bests earn them places and points. We know that we have a phenomenal swim team. They do well every year, and we're just excited to see how well they will do again this year. Staff, Holly Connon, a middle school paraprofessional, lost her father in late October. Our thoughts go out to her. As has been publicized, Kim Jasper, the middle school principal, accepted a position in another district. She will remain the middle school principal through the end of 2023, as her new employment starts on January 1st of 2024. I want to personally take a minute to thank Ms. Jasper for her years of service and dedication to the students of Milan area schools. She served as a teacher, an assistant principal, and a principal, took all of those jobs very seriously, did an amazing job in each of those roles, and we truly thank her for all of her service to the district. It was very exciting to attend all of the internal reviews and be a part of that process. I want to thank Mr. McMahon. That wouldn't happen without his efforts. So it's exciting to me to hear him excited about something that took so much time and effort. But it really is a great process. And I will be sharing the presentation slides with you as part of my self-evaluation, because a lot of the topics that are in my strategic plan come out in those presentations. As Mr. McMahon said, the district professional development on November 1st really went well. The teachers met in all of the buildings. Also, our paraprofessionals had a full day of PD that day, which was nice to be able to provide them. I did have the opportunity to visit each of the staffs in the buildings and provide an update on the Reimagining Milan area schools. We discussed the timeline. We looked at projected staffing changes, anticipated facility needs, and several other details about the upcoming shifts. And then I was able to answer questions about the process and those transitions. The staff had really good questions. A couple of them asked questions that then put things on our to-do list. And that's why we're going out and meeting with the staff, is to get their input. A couple of examples that seem simple, but we just hadn't processed that far. The middle school will have a 4th grade, so they probably need another copy machine. The middle school will now have 5th graders in it. So the 2 intersections at the north end of the middle school, so that would be at, is that Miller? Yeah. Miller and Marvin, and Miller and North are currently 2-way stops. And I have put a petition in with the chief of police to make them 4-way stops. We won't necessarily need crossing guards there because they're 5th graders and they don't necessarily have to have a crossing guard, but it would be a lot safer for 5th graders to cross in an intersection that's a 4-way stop. So, I mean, those are the kinds of things that are coming out of these meetings with staff. And so we really are seeking their input on all aspects, but just some things that they've come up with that I hadn't quite processed to yet, and neither had any of the administrators. So we thank our staff for their input, and we will continue to provide them updates and seek their input throughout the year. That's all that I have.
Thank you, Mr. Gearbaugh. Board member comments. Yeah, Mr. Farrow.
First, I want to congratulate Cassie Pryor. Welcome to the Board of Education. Look forward to working with you. I have a couple finance notes. One, at our October 25th meeting, the Board of Education approved a letter of agreement with respect to administrative assistants, custodians, and paraprofessionals, which was presented to us by Mr. Gearbaugh. Our approval on that letter agreement remains contingent upon the Milan area school support staff's ratification of the same letter of agreement, as long as the letter of agreement is not edited or rescinded. So I just wanted everyone to be aware that we have not edited nor have we rescinded that letter of agreement. I also want to relay that the transparency reporting page on our website will be updated soon to include personnel expenditures, current operating expenditures, 2023 audited statements, accounts payable, payment register, highly compensated employees, district paid dues, district credit card information, and district out-of-state travel. Our next Big Red board chat will take place on Tuesday, November 28th at 6:30 p.m. in the Simons Theater. And then finally, I just want to let the community know that the WISD, which is the Washtenaw Intermediate School District, is offering a parent education webinar series on mental health topics. They are conducted on the second Tuesday of each month from 7 to 8 p.m. If you have an interest in attending any of these webinars, please contact WISD. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell. Others?
Mr. Sislo?
Yes, Ms. Rosenleisure.
First, I'd like to begin by thanking Milan area schools and Mr. Gearbaugh for continuing to support the development of our board members. I was pleased to attend the Michigan Association of School Boards Annual Leadership Conference this past weekend, where I had the opportunity to complete 5 more CBA classes, in addition to the 3 classes I'm currently taking online. So I'm knocking those out, working on data certification and advocacy certification. Those are my 2 focus areas right now. In addition to those classes, I attended several other clinics held by board members from around the state that were very beneficial, just to hear how other boards are operating and doing things. The learning was quite intense and amazing. I also had the honor of being a presenter at one of the clinic sessions on Friday afternoon. I also would like to congratulate the women's volleyball team on their first ever regional win. That's remarkable, and so happy for them, and wishing them all the best as they move into the semifinals at the state level. Good luck to our women's swim team competing this weekend at the state meet. I can't wait to see what they do. They're fun every year to watch. Mr. McMahon, thank you for sharing about the internal reviews and comprehensive needs assessment. I can echo, I don't think there's another school district around that does those internal reviews like our district does. So it's kudos to everybody involved there. And then I have just one question for Mr. Gearbaugh. Are we working with the 6th grade teachers too in terms of transitioning them with this reimagining Milan area schools? Because I know their schedule is going to be changing, and I'm wondering if there's anxiety with the administrative change and stuff happening there too.
We have not yet met with the 6th grade staff because exactly what their schedule was going to look like. We weren't sure whether it was going to be teaming or a cohort model.
Okay.
That's starting to be solidified over the last
Excellent.
week or so. And I will tell you, the staff, while I haven't gone and met with the 6th grade staff, the 6th grade staff has been involved with the building administration as they've worked through that and they've had input. And I will say, yes, obviously there is anxiety there, as there would be when we're going into a year of major change and
Absolutely.
have a change in leadership. But we will make sure that we get a great person in place at the middle school to make sure that all of the students attending there get all of the education that they deserve and that the transition is smooth.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Rosenleisure. Others?
Mr. Sissel?
Yes, Ms. Murray.
Okay, I can follow Ms. Rosenleisure, I hope, if I can avoid coughing. Apologies for that. I had the just joyous pleasure to attend the volleyball game yesterday in Chelsea, and so that's partially why I set myself back and I can't talk effectively today. I am just so proud of how that team has represented themselves and our district. They're a little near and dear to my heart because I saw them as, middle school volleyball players, some of them, and it's just been amazing to watch them grow through all these years and now being on the varsity team. So huge congratulations to them. They played with such spirit and just amazing sportsmanship too. Like, it was such a positive game. They were helping each other out, reinforcing one another, taking care of one another. They were excellent sports to their competing team. And I have to give a huge shout out to Divine Child too. Same thing on their side. It was a really positive game and just a really good community feeling, good spirit being there. So I'm glad I had the opportunity, and congrats to everybody for making it this far. I'm excited about tomorrow, but I can't be there. The Alice in Wonderland, everybody needs to go see it. I'm excited to go see it. And I want to give a special thanks to all the community partners. If you haven't had a chance, the Milan High School Productions Facebook, they do an amazing job promoting the show, but they just put out a list of all of the sponsors at all of the various levels, and it was incredible to see how our community rallies around our programs here in Milan area schools. So just a huge shout out to all those businesses and community partners who are stepping up to support our students, and thank you. I see you, and I will patronize you, and I appreciate that. So break a leg, cast and crew, have a great run. Middle school spelling bee is being hosted at the middle school this weekend, so I'll be, I don't know what, volunteering. They'll stick me in a room somewhere, And yeah, just looking forward to seeing all of our spellers. They do a good job putting that and hosting that for our regional spelling bee this weekend. So excited for that. And thank you to Mr. McMahon for that excellent internal review recap. I have had the privilege of participating in that from the staff side, and it's one thing that I've always just hugely respected about this district is how we do engage with one another to build that community within our buildings amongst one another as professionals. And we really don't just talk the talk of continuous improvement. We walk the walk here in Milan area schools, and it's really, really cool to hear about it from this perspective. And I know exactly what that must have looked like in the buildings this past week. So thank you to all for that hard work. I can't talk about Kim Jasper without being emotional, so I'm just going to say that I've had the privilege of serving under, I added it up, I've had 8 different principals, 2 states, public and charter. She's the best one. So I wish her all the best. And in the same breath, I can say that I know that we'll have a great leader coming in behind her too. So I'm looking forward to meeting that person. Sorry, this is lengthy. The MASB conference, I couldn't agree more with Ms. Rosenleacher in thanking the district for supporting our education as board members. You can't be an expert in everything when you come to sit in one of these chairs. I certainly have a niche of expertise and knowledge, but I was just blown away by the community of knowledge that I got to tap into when I went to the MASB conference this last weekend. It was absolutely electrifying. I came away so much more knowledgeable, but also just passionate about ways that this role can support our district and support our students and our community. So I was able to knock out 3 of my CBA courses. So I have 3 left out of, 9 or 10 in the first, 9. So my intention is to be CBA certified by the end of my first year in office. So I'm almost there. I got 3 left. So I think that's about it out of me. That ought to be enough. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Murray. Others?
Mr. Sislo?
Yes, Ms. Gutierrez.
I'd like to start by thanking Mrs. Jasper for all of her work and leadership at Milan Middle School. I know that building over the last many years has undergone a lot of growth and development under her leadership, and she's incredibly respected by staff, clearly, past and present, and students as well as families. And I'm just extremely grateful for her service and her leadership and her vision in the district, and I sincerely wish her all the best. I'd like to thank you and acknowledge the administration for having para-centric PD in the last PD, and I think this has happened once before. It follows a comment I had made several meetings back about the importance of para-centric PD, coming from feedback from the ISD boot camp, where paras were able to share the value of getting training and skills that were tailored to the types of situations they encounter in their very unique job role. And so I think this is wonderful. It's a way to demonstrate our clear support for our staff, our evaluation of their role, and our commitment to providing them with the skills that they need. And so I hope to see that continue. I'd like to thank Mr. McMahon for the enthusiasm first and foremost. I think that's emanating from all of us. As someone who works in higher education, I'm totally geeking out on the idea of accreditation at the K-12 level, and I'm so impressed with the way in which this process is cyclical within this district, that you review and that informs what you put into a grant, and then those grants spur new projects, which then move forward different review strategies. And so I just think it's such a productive way to continue a culture of continuous improvement. And I'm extremely grateful for that hard work and expertise, not only from you, Mr. McMahon, but from all of the individuals involved with that process across all job roles in our buildings. I also especially appreciate the cross-building synergy. I think our district is is unique in that we've got really kind of 4 buildings that students are moving through in their time. And so it both builds community as these teachers are seen and working with teachers in other buildings, as well as having a holistic approach across our district. And so I think that that's really important and novel. I'd like to thank Mrs. Pryor for her time with us tonight and welcome her to the board. I'd like to thank all of the candidates. It was really evident how much thoughtfulness there was in the room tonight, and I am humbled by the variety of people who put their hat in the ring for this, people who had investment in this district, either current or previously through family and children, community members, and former educators. And so I just appreciate all of those different perspectives being brought to the table, and I appreciate their act of volunteerism. I think my last thing is I would like to encourage everyone to go see Alice in Wonderland. We've been counting down the days quite literally. We don't know anyone directly who's in the play, but we always love the Milan High School performances. And one more thing, I'd like to wish all of our staff, families, students, very happy Thanksgiving. I can't believe this is already next week, but I was just checking the calendar to make sure I wasn't wrong, but I'm not. And I hope you enjoy the 3 days of rest that will come with a little bit of a break. We have so much to be thankful for here in this district, and I hope that that is able to be celebrated with a little bit of time away. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gutierrez. Ms. Heiko.
I want to wish the volleyball team good luck. I don't know who's left are there 4 teams left? Is that how that works?
Mhm.
So are we the public school champion? Is off happens? Two.
There's one more.
There's 2 left.
Yep.
Okay, so
Yep.
let's see how that plays out.
Yep.
That's kind of an ongoing joke, especially on the swim team.
Mhm.
Sometimes they're in the top 5, but the 4 schools ahead of them are private schools, so they are actually the public school champion. So I think that's important to call out and notice, right? So I do want to wish the swim team luck as they travel. They leave tomorrow to Oakland for their state meet. This is the culmination for many of these girls, particularly the seniors. They have been working on this, many of them since they were 6 and 7 years old. So just a lot of years and a lot of sacrifice was made to get here. And so I want to wish them all good luck, and I hope they all savor these moments. And I wasn't here at the last meeting, so I want to apologize to everyone. I had a work commitment. But I also want to congratulate the swim team on once again winning the Huron League championship. I have quite frankly lost track. It's well over 20 years. They're the swim team coach is probably not happy that I don't know how many number of years.
24.
24. I thought it was 4, but I didn't want to get that wrong, right? Woo. Woo. So congratulations to them. And again, it's the amount of time that many of those girls have put into that is just astounding. It's years and years of work from all of them and their parents who get them to morning practice and after practice and feed them because swimmers eat a lot of food. I want to wish everyone in the play, both the performers and the crew and everyone involved, good luck this weekend. We will be there at some point. But they're always just wonderful. So if you haven't caught a high school play yet, come and check them out because they are always incredible. There's a significant amount of talent in this district, and it's always amazing to me to see these kids just get out there and give it their all. And I'm so proud of them because I could never do that. So I know it is November, but softball season starts in a month. And my understanding is that there are enough students who have issued or expressed some interest that there very well may be a JV team this year. So if you have never played softball before or you haven't played in a very long time and you're worried that everyone is on a travel team and there's not a JV team, now is your chance. Everyone come out. Think about it. Also a very successful group of girls who are just, come check them out at the very least. I think that begins December 7th. Again, something that should be on my calendar and is not. I want to thank Miss Jasper for her service to our schools and to our community. She not only taught many of my kids, but she was also two of their principals. So I appreciate her and all that she's done and wish her luck. Um, and I want to welcome Ms. Pryor to the board. I can't wait to see you sitting up here, and I look forward to working with you. And I wasn't here at the last meeting, so I want to wish Ms. Freight the best in all of her future endeavors. And then thank you to Mr. McMahon and all of our staff. The amount of work that goes into these internal reviews is, it's all heartfelt, it is, but it is a lot of time and a lot of effort. So I just want to thank all of them for all of that hard work, because you see that in the performance of our kids and just how well everyone is doing. So thank you.
All right.
Mr. Sislo, I have one more thing.
Yes, Ms. Rose.
If you
Nope, you're
haven't,
done.
if you haven't seen the little mini Facebook videos that our high school students are putting out, oh my goodness, they're so much fun. I don't know what class that's with, but they interviewed the members of the volleyball team on, I don't even know. I don't know their slang anymore about their clothing that they wear, that they were wearing. And the swim team just came out today. I don't remember what they exactly interviewed, but they are so much fun to just see how much fun our students are having with all of this. So congratulations to them.
All right. I have a long list too. Some of it's going to be repetitive, but I want to thank everybody that came out for the board interviews and going through that process. Congratulations to Ms. Pryor. We do look forward to having you on the board. Like Ms. Heike said, we do have a token of recognition for Ms. Freight from the board for her 5 years of service, and then the 10 years that she served as a substitute. So I will deliver this on our behalf and thanking her for her service to the district. So I will deliver that for us. I want to thank the parapros that continue to come to the meeting, and I appreciate their work and their efforts as they go through the process that they're going through. I do want to thank Miss Frozen Leacher. Her and we went to downtown trick-or-treating. We had a blast. We saw a lot of kids. We got our hand slapped because we were handing out stuff too early. But I did have fun with one of those punching balloons until the one boy came up because he was so excited to get one, and it was the last one that we had, and I handed it to him and his face lit up when he got that last punching balloon. So that was fun. I appreciate her doing that. As Mr. Farrell stated, we do have a Big Red board chat. It's going to be at Simon's at 6:30 on the 28th. The topic will be the reimagining Milan schools, so we'll talk through that. We'll confirm who's going to attend. It might be myself, Mr. Farrow, and Ms. Gutierrez potentially, because I think the youth, Murray, Leacher, and Heike were at the last one. So we will confirm that, but that'll be on the 28th at 6:30 at Simon's. As Mr. Gearbaugh indicated, he's going to be getting his self-evaluation to the board soon. We'll be conducting that evaluation on December 13th in closed session per his request. So that'll be the business of the meeting on the 13th. I also do want to thank the district for the support of sending board members to the MASB conference, the Michigan Association of School Boards. It is excellent training. You get to learn a lot in the classes, but just by the other board members that are there and the experiences that they have. I went to the lawyers conference on Thursday, which is extremely valuable because they go over all the new laws that are going to be pertaining to us. There are some things regarding Title IX, and there's quite a few things that that are in regards to the employment contracts and things that with the legislature's just passed that we'll have to be aware of as we negotiate contracts. I also attended a board offering on site sinking fund, which is something that we've been expressing an interest in as a board, and then also one on the Open Meetings Act. So again, it was a well attended event, and we learned a lot when we went. I do also, like Ms. Gutierrez, want to wish everyone, all staff and of the district and students, happy Thanksgiving. We hope you enjoy your break and your time away and get prepared for those other few weeks between Thanksgiving and winter break. So, and last but not least, we have to say go to the swimming team and to the volleyball team. Outstanding work. Go Big Reds and Ano Milan. We will definitely look forward to hearing those results. So, any other business before the board or comments? All right. With that, the meeting is adjourned at 8:45.